Hello and welcome to my channel. Today we are going to dive into the relationship between Louis and Lestat as we've seen in season 3 of Interview with the Vampire, retitled The Vampire Lestat. Season 3 feels quite different from the first 2 seasons of the show, and there's a reason for it. It's primarily based on the source material that is Anne Rice's second installation in the Vampire Chronicles, which is the Vampire Lestat, and this is the vibe you get in the books. So the producers really had their hands tied in this situation, but yeah, it lends to the total modern-esque, completely chaotic, unhinged vibe we get in the season. The contrast between Louis and Lestat is made immediately apparent. Louis is a sophisticated, well-educated, classy, and refined narrator. He can be a bit verbose and hyperbolic in his delivery. Lestat, on the other hand, is quite sharp, highly articulate, and can be a bit dodgy and defensive in his narration. He is witty and highly sarcastic. Unlike Louis, he can be quite humorous and comedic in his delivery. He's awfully self-aware in instances where Louis would be oblivious and blind to his own faults. He employs a stream of consciousness as his narrative technique, as opposed to Louis, who employed a more interview dialogue-y style of narration. The technique they decide to go for and use in telling their story serves a specific purpose. For Louis, whose goal was to examine and analyze his own memories and recollections of things, a more antagonistic and dialogue-y style suited him. For Lestat, it's the opposite. It's about damage control because his reputation has been ruined by the release of the book Interview with a Vampire, and his goal and objective is to have a non-interference and a stream of consciousness where he's able to tell his side of the story to the person that it matters to the most. Although that means he risks appearing as an unreliable narrator, and so he does have this documentary aspect to it where Molloy questions him and challenges his notions of things. When we meet Louis and Lestat in season 3, they are both living apart, partly from the fallout of the book after it was released. Although this is frustrating for some viewers, this is a good thing because we get to see what Louis and Lestat look like when they are apart. Lestat admits to himself and to the audience that he is, for the most part, struggling. He reaches for drugs, cocaine, sex to try to make himself feel better and ease his pain. And when that fails, he tries to reach out to the one thing that he knows for sure can fill the gap and the void inside him.
And two in the cellar.
En flagrante delict.
On Holy Saturday, no less.
He admits to himself and to Louis in season 1 of Interview with the Vampire that Louis takes away his loneliness, and so without Louis in season 3, you can tell he's really struggling and going through it. But he's trying to prove a point to himself and to Louis that he can do this without Louis. When he lost Nikki in Paris, it was Gabriella who distracted him from the grief and from the loss, and he thinks this time around this should work again and he's going to reach out to the same person. He's all too human for that. See Louis also struggling as well and not doing well on his own apart from Lestat. He reaches out to someone he thinks looks like Claudia and tries to fill the void with her. This is brilliant in that we get to see why these people deserve each other and why they need to be together. No one understands what they are dealing with and what they are going through besides each other. They need each other and they don't need to tell us that. They are showing us how much they truly want and need each other right now. I'm not the devil. You are wrong about that. This would be a befitting theme for the entire episode from episode 1 to 4 that we've gotten so far. This has been the bane in Lestat's existence from season 1, episode 1 of the interview with the vampire, where it seems for Louis, he's stuck in his head with this idea that Lestat is evil and Lestat is the devil, and that has been the crucible that and the cross that Lestat has carried from season 1 to season 3. He's constantly trying to rewrite the narrative and correct Louis to let him know that he is not this Machiavellian character that he thinks he is, while simultaneously trying to perform this mayonnaise villain that the book says he is to everybody. Side note, it must be really exhausting and draining to constantly try to humanize yourself to the one person that needs to and must see the humanity in you because they claim they love you. That must be a very difficult position for Lestat to be in. There's an unspoken contract between Louis and Lestat in which Louis and Lestat promises to see each other, and this is the premise of Louis turning into a vampire was Lestat seeing him, seeing all his flaws, all his humanity, all his struggles, seeing behind the mask and accepting who this man was behind that. And he tries to show Louis, this is who I am, and I need this. I need to be seen by you. I need to be loved by you, seen by you, and accepted by you. For 3 seasons, it seems Louis breaches this contract over and over again, which is quite sad to be honest. Chapter 4, The Red String Theory. In season 1, Louis tries to explain what his vampire bond with Lestat feels like to him. He explains to Daniel Molloy that a vampire bond between him and Lestat, there's nothing like it. He doesn't give much away really because he's in part trying to hide the fact that he was so in love with Lestat and that led him to make various bad and toxic decisions, a fact that Lestat mocks in season 3 quite often actually. He says though that there's nothing quite like it and it is a bond that can never truly be severed. It is the kind of bond that makes you feel that there's only two of you in the world, he says. We see the nature of this bond in season 3 when Armand visits Daniel Molloy and tries to talk to him. Daniel says that everything around him disappears and he feels a presence with him. But then, of course, it's always Armand lurking somewhere in the shadows, so he's not crazy about that. But then again, we see this on the screen where everything literally floats away and disappears, and it's as if it's only just him and Armand, and there's nobody else around them, and it feels like they're the only two in the room. I have qualms about this. I have suspicions about this and I'll explain it further when I dive into Daniel and Armand's relationship in my next video. Armand struggles for something that I call the mimetic desire. He doesn't truly have desires of his own for some reason, and he's constantly desiring things because he's trying to experience things vicariously through other people. More about that in my next video. For Louis, he has admitted that sometimes he finds it very difficult to articulate the feelings of love that he feels for people. That is not the case with Lestat though, and Lestat provides a better description of his vampire bond with Louis. In season 1, he describes this bond as a connection, a cord that connects him and Louis. He says it's a cord that Louis cannot see, but is true and is real and is there. In his song Brutal Love, he described this connection as a thread. The nature of this thread is such that he can feel it whenever Louis pulls on it. Translation, he can feel when Louis yearns for him. Back at the Paris theatre trials, he describes this connection aggressively, of course, when Louis tells him, while you were screaming all around me, come to me, come to me. And he says, you, how do you know that wasn't your dark thoughts, your dark desires, screaming all around you in the dark? Because it seems to him that he genuinely believes he could feel, that's what he says, he could feel Louis calling to him to come to him. He articulates this much better in his letter to Louis when Louis thought he was, of course, dead and had left his will. And he says to him that there is a veil that is going to separate them henceforth. However, he's always on the other side, his face pressed against Louis's longing. It's safe to say that Their vampire bond is a feel generated by each other's longing, yearning, and desire for each other. When Louis turns Madeline, he says to Madeline that he can feel Madeline, and Madeline says too that he can feel people that Louis loves through their connection and through. So it's safe to also say that the vampire bond is different for everybody and doesn't look the same. Which again is quite interesting when you think about the fact that Daniel Molloy thinks he's experiencing a similar bond that Louis has with Lestat, with Armand. Daniel, are you in love with Armand? Okay, guys, this brings me to the end of this video. Give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Like, share, comment, yada yada. Let me know what you think about their vampire bonds. Cheers, season 3, episode 5. I am sitting by my TV, clutching my laptop, waiting to watch this and share my thoughts with you. See you in my next video. Bye.